Hey, party people. I have on Nancy Diamond. I didn't even know you, but I saw the outfit you were wearing and the shirt you were wearing. I think the shirt said the internet is not real life or something. And
Hmm.
your style, I was like, oh, this lady looks awesome and hilarious. And I don't know, I was just, how you're around someone, you're like, man, that vibe, I don't know what it is, but I didn't even get to talk to you that much at that event. But anywho, yeah, I'm having another lady on to talk about her experience with living her life, really. You can just launch in however you want.
Okay, I never like to talk over someone, so it's like all of the intro. Get it
Oh,
over with.
God. I'm terrible at
Yeah,
talking. See, I just did it.
yeah. Don't worry about it. Yeah, I felt the same way about you for one. It was like, oh, I don't know you, but I would like to know you, and I'm so grateful for some of the people I met through that previous event.
Same.
Uh, yeah, I uh, I wanted to talk about my peak trans stuff because I feel like so many people talk about just not really have like having some small little things, or it's just, oh, I was always against the movement, blah blah blah. I was definitely someone who formerly called myself a liberal feminist even.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
um and then I went through about 2 years of terrible uterine pain.
Mm.
And I went through so many doctors trying to figure this out. I finally had gotten a doctor telling me it's likely you have endometriosis. And so we're going to schedule a exploratory surgery to actually confirm or, figure out what the hell's going on in there. Um, and so me being the high anxiety person I am, promptly joined several endometriosis support groups on Facebook.
Yeah.
Not even really thinking about the idea of them being women only spaces.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, endometriosis. Um,
Logic.
and I was immediately so blown away with the communities that these places
God.
kind of bring to the table. It's so many women being so vulnerable
Mm.
about such personal issues in their life. And it really was greatly comforting. I got a lot of advice about surgeries, and I felt like I was able to help people too. And then there was an announcement made about a new admin for the group being added. And it was and I even specified this, non medical trans woman. And everyone was so excited in the comments section about it. And I didn't understand it. And it wasn't like I didn't understand it because, if it had even been a medical professional, it's like, fuck it. You know what you're talking about, at least, I guess. You've
Yeah.
studied it. Sure, help us out.
Mm-hmm.
But they weren't even that. Um, and I saw all of this jubilation over it, and I left about a paragraph comment just asking, I don't really understand what the excitement is over this. Why are we allowing, or why are we having someone who is physically incapable of having this disease, and has no medical background that would be able to help us with any of the questions that this group is meant to help support and help figure out? And I was dogpiled immediately. Um, I was very, very vitriolically dogpiled. It was actually one of my first times having the word turf thrown at me, and I didn't really know what it meant other than it's the bad thing to be. Um, and so I was just like, okay, well, this is clearly not as supportive of an environment as I thought it was. I'm kind of uncomfortable with someone having power over me
Yeah.
when I'm trying to be very vulnerable about my like crippling uterine disease. Um,
Especially
so
seeing that
I,
power dynamic, like
yeah,
just seeing that happen, and like when I mean, it sounds like you were like most of us just asking a question. You can't even ask a question, and
yeah,
it's
I tried to be very woke about the way I asked my question because it was like, I'm so glad we have a new admin. They're gonna take the load off this. This is such a busy group.
yeah.
But can I ask what made them qualified to join this group?
Not only
And
is it a man, but it's a man pretending to be a woman. So, did you even know
yeah,
what trans woman was then? Like,
I feel like my knowledge of the transgender movement was more based in transsexualism and people
mm-hmm.
having like a genuine mental disturbance that
That's what it
they
is, though.
well that is what it is, but like for the like
Repackaged.
same with like people that have
Yeah.
body integrity disorder where it's like I want to
Huh.
chop off my arm.
Mm-hmm.
you know, they go to a psychiatrist, they get help, they don't get their arm chopped off. But, you know, I thought it was more of that kind of thing where it's like, oh, these are people suffering from great mental issues. They just want help. They just want to not be shit on. I'm cool not shitting on people.
Yeah.
And I left the group. I was just like, I literally haven't gotten one even half answer. So I left the group, and that is when I remembered, oh yeah, I had added a woman as a friend from this group, and she promptly re-added me to the group, and I was told to essentially atone for my bigotry and apologize to the admin of the group for making her feel bad and unwelcomed. And
was this in a DM or like a public post?
No, I was re-added to the group and then tagged in a new post asking to apologize to everyone. Had I known that this was kind of how this stuff works, I would have had so many screenshots of this. But at the time, I was just like, oh, I'm being attacked by people I considered good friends at this time. And I just left again, removed the friend, did that little Facebook thing where it's like, no one can re-add me to this place. I even received a few personal messages or like DMs after that, and just ended up blocking those people too, because it's like, what are you getting out of this? Harassing an ill woman? Like,
leave you alone. Like, oh my God, it's so insane. Like, the stuff that they preach that they want and that they're really about, or that they think they're about, is complete opposite. Just total hatred to anyone else with an opinion or just being curious. I mean, it sounded like, I don't believe that you were lying or anything. You're just genuine curiosity. We can't have genuine curiosity anymore. What kind of a world do we want to live in where you can't be curious about things that maybe you do want to know, like what's going on? Maybe you would be a supporter of the tea people. I'm like, you're not even helping out what that they're all fighting for. It's like you're literally, what the hell? What's the point?
Yeah,
I'm so sorry that happened to you. That is never a good feeling. I know it sounds like
shocking.
it's all, it's on the internet, and you would think it wouldn't have as much as an impact, but man, I had the same thing happen to me. Mine was like a slow, gradual thing. Posted an article, I've said it a million times, and it was definitely a dog pile, and like a lot of it was people I barely knew, and some that I've been like close friends with, you know, being like, are you serious? Oh my God, I've even talked to these people. You know, I got the turf thing, and I just had this like, you know, unfortunately, that kind of tactic does have a working. It works where it's just. I was like, oh my God, what does turf mean? Like, it's like, you know, I think half the time they don't even know what that word means, and they're just being told turf is bad, turf are bad, 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 and so they're just like turf, even though they don't know what the hell it is, and it just has that really unfortunate bullying effect on people. It's like, if you want to like sway people or coerce, I'm not even like for this, get where I'm going here, people to join your effing cult, why are you going to be all nasty about it? How is that helping anything? I don't know. I mean, sorry, that's so upsetting, and this happens to so many people. It really does hurt and is so incredibly shocking. It's like, what planet am I living on? Yeah, am I bad?
Yeah.
No, it's just like, to me, I've lived my life of like being misunderstood, and for someone to call me a turf that doesn't actually, like, never commented on my post ever before, randomly comes out of the woodwork and bashes my art. I'm sure they bashed you as a person.
Oh,
and
God,
not they always attack the person. They don't ever talk about, like, let's have a conversation, which is, I guess, the tactic of shutting down any sort of convo, because guess what? As soon as you have not even intentional questions of, you know, you're going to burst their pseudo-reality bubble, they know by asking questions, it will really break the crappy foundation that their lies live on. That's why they shut it down with name calling and making you feel bad. Either you feel bad and leave.
They've genuinely politicized the concept of just asking questions, and they make it the idea of asking questions is this terrible thing you can't do. And if you even have questions, you're just exposing your bigotry. And it's like, there was a time where we were taught there are no dumb questions.
Yeah.
There are dumb answers, but there are no dumb questions. That's how we learn.
Yeah. Yes.
And it's like, you know, as you said, people just use turf for everything now, and it's trans rights advocates, I call them gender extremists. Gender extremists will say, oh, turf is just a descriptor. And it's like, yeah, but you know you're using it as a slur. Like
Exactly.
you
Lies
you
again.
can say anything you want to say with the right inflection and know you're trying to hurt
Yeah,
someone.
exactly. It's such BS. Jeez, oh my, I just can't even imagine because that's a women's group, about
Yeah.
women's bodily issues or functions. And I think for me, if I knew what try not to use her language, a man pretending to be a woman became the moderator, I'd be like, I don't, it's just like this deep feeling of, but you're a man. Like,
Yep.
I mean, I don't go to a gynecologist that's a man. I don't do any of that stuff. I only go to women because women know women's bodies. I mean, you can learn about it in schooling,
Yeah.
but if
It
you're a
was
woman,
really
you
my
know.
it was really my first experience realizing, oh, they just don't want to be able to be comfortable dressing and looking and even like calling their own names how they see fit. They think they are actually female women. And it's like, oh no, that's a line I didn't think we were crossing here.
Right,
I
right.
was willing to be like, oh, you're a trans woman, and that's a subset of a male bodied person. That is a male experience.
Yeah.
And I sympathize for you struggling in the sex roles that are placed on people because they're fucking garbage. But that doesn't mean you are an actual human female, and we have different experiences entirely. And that was
Yes.
really my first time realizing it. It's like, oh, they're actually trying to say there's no difference. And that just,
Oh my God, it's so dangerous for like the medical industry itself. Like, what are you
yeah,
gonna do? I mean, you go into the doctor and you literally think a man thinks that they're a woman, and this person can't even help you out. Like,
yeah,
they don't know because you're like, it's just all a lie. Like, it's not the truth, and this isn't helping more than anything. This isn't helping these individuals out.
yeah. And
Affirming them into their delusion.
it
Not
worries me,
good.
especially with children. Like,
Oh God.
you're an old man or an old woman. You're free to do your own, whatever.
Yeah.
You're old enough to know better. Children aren't at this point, and
Nope.
we're at a point where politicians are trying to take the idea of a therapist talking a child through their abandonment issues, eating disorders, anxiety problems, and say that if you're not addressing their gender dysphoria, that's conversion therapy because you're trying to keep them out of the gender that they identify best with. And
Oh
it's
my
like,
God.
I, for several months, would call myself like a dinosaur or just like, you're a child at.
Yes. Yeah, it's insanity.
Yeah.
So what happened after that? That
That began my
when was this, by the
graduate.
way?
Oh gosh, this was maybe 2 years, 3 years ago now. My concept of time is so screwed up because of the last year, but it's been
Oh
a
yeah.
fair few years now. Um, and that began my slow, gradual turfing because I got called a turf. And so it was like, okay, what the hell is a turf exactly? That was basically my exposure to the concept of radical feminism, like in general, because it's like, oh, that's gotcha. Um, and thankfully, this was before Reddit, the platform that hates women, had started deleting all of the actual
Mm,
feminist subreddits. And
yeah.
so, slowly through my scrolling, getting to, page 2 and 3 of Google, I started finding non forced gender extremist stuff. And
Mm,
I was finding incredible feminist current articles about people who had their own peaks and were medical professionals and realized, oh, what's happening isn't right, and finding the gender critical subreddit and realizing, oh, this is exclusively women. This is a huge amount of lesbian women,
mm.
and they're all feeling very persecuted by what's going on. Clearly, I've missed something this whole
Mm.
time.
Oh
And
yeah.
so it was a very slow. I started joining like one or two little Facebook groups that were like radical feminist education. I got really nervous about liking pages that it's like, oh my God,
Oh,
someone
people can
is going
see
to
that.
see that I
Yeah.
liked this kind of
I hate
thing.
this whole social media, that
Hmm.
shit, like, oof, but it's the world we live in, really. Or,
Yeah. But
yeah.
it took me, I would say, 2 weeks to get the hell over that. Um, because
Yeah.
I still felt a lot of shame from the beginning of like, I made this person feel bad. I said something so wrong. I got all this ire, and now and it didn't take long to get rid of that when I saw this happening to so many people, when I could literally
So many.
scroll through pages of hundreds and hundreds of women being just literally sent violent threats
Yeah.
for saying, hey, I'm uncomfortable with the fact I saw a penis in the dressing room today. And it's like, your child literally should have never had to see a penis in the dressing room. That's
Yeah.
fucked up.
Yes.
Um, and I still remember my first laugh of finding the subreddit. I think it was like Actually Women or something. And
Sure, that was shut down with the
it was
whole
shut down
suite.
so fast.
Yeah.
But I had this
Wow.
realization of like, oh, they're literally joking, because there is this idea that there's not a thing as an actual woman, and actual women is whoever wants to be one. And that was my moment of, no, fuck that. I'm an actual woman.
Yeah.
These things affect me. They
Mhm.
don't affect a man that is uncomfortable
That has a
and wants to
fetish
be
about
called
wanting
a
to be a
different
woman.
name,
Sorry.
No,
Yeah.
I completely understand. I really do think the reasons people trans are a lot different based on age.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. And so it's
Hugely,
like,
hugely,
I
hugely.
I often am not one to like, even though I do think there is a large subset of fetishists in it, I try not to do that, because
It is. Yeah. Go ahead.
so much of my activism is really focused on children.
Yeah.
I
That makes
don't have
sense.
them, but
Yeah.
God, I'm so terrified for the generation, because I feel like I would have been transed as a
Oh,
child.
for
I played with
sure.
Hot Wheels. I was
Me
in
too.
mud all the time. I had a
Hmm.
short haircut. Like,
Yeah.
it's just scary.
You were
I'm
just a
scared
kid.
for my
No,
own girl. I'm
I
scared for
agree.
girls, you know?
100%. Yeah. It's so wild. Yeah. I definitely. It's. I should definitely specify that when I say men pretend to be women, it's a fetish. It's definitely
It's
older
actually
men.
adult men. Yeah.
Yeah. Teenage men, porn sick men, to be honest,
Yeah.
anime
Oh yeah.
sick men, um, spending too much time on fucking the internet,
Yeah.
4chan, 8chan, whatever the hell.
Yeah, and
Listen,
it
I mean,
often feels like the reasons that people get sucked into this are very different. Like you said,
oh,
porn sickness stuff. There's
yeah,
so much of that with
I
men.
know, so
And
many.
with
Yep.
women and girls, it's so often just, I'm so sick of being looked at like an object
Yes,
all the
yes,
time.
yep,
Cut this off. And it's just, it makes me sick and want to cry. It's
yeah.
terrible.
Especially seeing now how women are, if they're even seeing how women are being silenced,
Mm-hmm.
or to even say anything, or even just be curious about it or ask questions. Yeah. And how much attention. This is so insidious on so many levels. Like, this is so predatory to people and children and youth that are, didn't get enough love growing up. And this whole glitter family and gender affirming care. Total lies,
Yeah,
all of
if
it. It's not care.
if telling children in mass, abandon your family, ignore your friends that don't support you, just come be with your internet family, isn't grooming a child for a bad life, I don't know
I
what
know,
else grooming could
exactly.
be. It's
People that won't support you. It's like what people
mhm,
that ask questions, like the stuff that they say is so twisted. It's taking, like, say you or anyone has questions about what they're doing. I mean, it can literally be interpreted by the person who's being convinced to join this cult,
mhm.
gender cult, that any curiosity is considered hate speech. Like, this is
Yeah.
so ridiculous. Everything is not everything, but so many things are being misinterpreted and stretched like taffy. Like, just really, reaching. I say their arms must be really tired. The reaching they do. Um, it's so disingenuous on so many levels. And I really, I don't think the majority of people have no idea like what this
Yeah.
is underneath the LGBTQ corporate stuff that's being pushed out, because oh my god, every day I'm like, oh, people are gonna think I'm like a homophobe or something because I'm talking
Yes.
about like the new LGBTQ stuff. I'm like, the LGB has nothing to do with the rest of that alphabet.
Yep.
That should never have been lumped together. It's such a I gotta give it to him. Like, this is the most cunning, deceptive
Yeah.
psyop I've ever seen. It's
Well, and you
unfortunate.
can tell it's a men's
Yeah.
rights movement, because of how fast shit's getting done. Like,
Oh my god.
I mean, if this were literally just a
Yeah.
pile of women fighting for this, it this wouldn't be happening, because we don't get listened to.
So true.
You can feel the men's rights movement in it.
Oh yeah, they get shit done. I mean,
Yeah.
I think it's so interesting about your that Facebook group you're in that was taken over by a man.
Hmm.
And I really think, I'm such a conspiracy theory person, but honestly, when you start like undigging stuff like this, it's not a theory. It is like a huge conspiracy where I'm like, well, if this is happening and I'm alive during this and I cannot believe this shit is going down in 2021, or I mean, this is going on years back, but I wonder if people in that Facebook group are plants and actors that are, I've always said this about things on social media, whether it's Instagram, Reddit, Facebook, where the first comment dictates the rest of the comments vibe. And if
Yeah.
someone's like, turf or like, you fucking phobic, whatever,
Hmm.
people will be like, wait, what? Yeah. Because imagine
That
you being the
one.
second, yeah, imagine you being the second comment or even fourth, really. I mean,
Yeah.
the more it adds up to where it's all the same opinion, imagine you going against that and being like, well, they're just asking a question. What's going on? I
Yeah.
mean, it's that whole group mentality of, ooh, I don't know if even if it's a second comment, like, ooh, this is, I have to, do I have a backbone or not to say something about this? Where I just wonder if people leaving comments in that group are the ones building this lie and this, do you know what I'm saying? Like, I think that
No,
happens on a scale that
absolutely.
people don't think about.
I
Yeah,
think I honestly do think there's quite a bit of that. Like
yeah,
there are
yep,
people paid to argue in comment sections for their side by like I know
yeah,
people who have met those people. Like that's a real thing that exists.
yeah,
I do think there's seeing how people handle these kind of arguments on Twitter. I do think there's often a lot of so I actually before leaving went and looked at the members list. This person had
mm-hmm,
only joined the group like a week prior. I hadn't noticed them, of course, because several thousand people in the group, but
yeah,
they just joined the group. And so it really feels like a matter of, if not the whole admin team being the problem, this male coming in and being like, wow, y'all are all really bigoted for having such a cis women focused mod team.
yep,
And just like complaining about that to the point that they break these women's
then,
wills because
yeah, yep,
we're raised to feel like that. And it's just so disheartening. It's like, girl, you can stand up for yourself. That person does not have a uterus, does not have a medical degree, and cannot help us. They can only hurt us.
yeah. Especially when you see how they were acting when they came. Oh man, that's so
Yeah.
crazy. I'm so tired of this internet crap. And
Yeah.
I see them. This is random, but I see the mistake of. It's painful though, because I'm like, I get it. Like a
Hmm.
lot of younger rad femmes are like, I hate men. I wish they were dead. And like, really, like, wow, honestly, no better than TRA,
Yep.
trans rights people. I'm like, man, that is the same vibe, and that is not it. I don't hate men. I'm married to one for God's sake.
Same.
In this sense, I really understand. It sounds to me like they have serious dad issues. Listen, I have mega daddy issues. Like, I'll be happy to admit that. Come talk to me if you have those issues. I'd be happy to talk seriously. I'm not
Hmm.
kidding. It sounds like they've had a man abuse them.
Yeah.
It sounds like, like I said, a non-existent dad or an abusive father or an abusive male figure in one way or another, either sexually, verbally, or whatever. Because for anyone to like really hate something that much,
Yeah.
something's going on. And
Something's wrong.
yeah. And
And
it
I
doesn't
mean,
mean that there's
it's,
something wrong with these people. Like, we're all
yeah.
crazy. We all
Well,
have
and
these
it's easy
things.
to see what is wrong. Like, I mean, it's understandable for a dog that's been kicked so many times by a male driven society to be
Yeah.
like, wow, I hate everything with feet now.
No,
And
dogs get like that with men, though. Specifically with men. They're
absolutely.
like, they'll start growling and
Yeah.
men, go figure.
Yeah,
Trophy dogs.
seriously.
Whoops.
It's, but it is just, I don't know. It's just a weird place we're in right now, where it really feels like there is a movement intentionally manipulating women to
Yes.
make them feel like garbage, and they're
Yeah.
being manipulated by men to feel like garbage. I'm very much in. I can never be one of those kill all men people that I see.
No,
It's
it doesn't
like
even make
I'm
sense.
married
We
to
have to get
one,
along. Yeah.
but I am very much a yes all men, but it's because they are a system. Like my husband realizes he is part of yes all men. Like
Yeah.
um but in that he recognizes that there is the issue, and it's not actually saying all men are bad people. It's that the whole collection of patriarchy is a bad thing.
Yeah.
And that doesn't mean I want to murder half
No.
of the population.
Yeah.
I just want to be listened to occasionally, you know?
Yeah. taken seriously, or just
Yeah.
yeah. Why do all these? This is so insane. Why do all these men's opinions and feelings matter more? Okay, men that are pretending to be women matter more
Hmm.
than women. It's so unbelievably insulting and
Yeah.
just
It wouldn't
what
it wouldn't be
blah?
acceptable to any other protected group of people. It would not be
Women are not a
acceptable for
protected group.
anyone. Well,
That's
true,
very
but
clear to me with Patreon and whatnot. You
yes,
know all that shit.
for any other group of individuals, it
Yeah.
would not be okay for you to get more rights than that person because you just feel like them. It's it's insane, but
Yep.
that's like the one group where there's this blind spot. I do not see the issue. It's fine.
I know. It's so crazy. It's like, really, I can be empathetic or sympathetic to you.
Mhm.
Why do you suddenly have this inability to just listen to me?
Yeah.
I am not comfortable, me and other women. I'm not saying all women, because some women are convinced and coerced and
Yeah.
brainwashed by this garbage. I don't want men in my changing rooms
Yeah.
on a rape crisis not I don't know if it's called a hotline or like a emergency line.
Mhm.
Hotline sounds insulting to that, because that literally happened. I think it was in the
Yeah.
UK. Some man got hired to be on the receiving end of a phone call of women going through a rape crisis. Hello, men get off on these fucking
Yep.
things. This is the whole reason why we have like women-centered crisis centers, because men do the raping. Hello,
Yep.
but women rape too. Shut the fuck up. You've got to be kidding me. All right, I'm so sick of that shit. I don't get nice when it's something like that. I'm like, you've got to be kidding
Well, and
me.
it's like, fine, if you want to say that, then go out there and make yourself a rape crisis center for males.
Yeah.
Go out there, make your voice loud, speak up for it, gather
Go for
funds,
it.
do
I've
it.
had it.
Don't degrade another person's support line because you feel offended by that. It's I follow a wonderful woman on Twitter who is a female genital mutilation advocate because she went through it herself.
Ebo.
Yes, Ebo.
Yeah. Yeah.
And she has been attacked by circumcision organizations
Lord.
because she doesn't talk about circumcision. And it's like, show me on your Twitter where you're talking about female genital mutilation. How can you expect us to bend over backwards for you when you only notice us when you're not being talked about?
It's not about you. Like, shut the
Yep.
F up. Get out of here. Like, this literally has nothing to do with you. Like,
Yep.
how just effing, I hate saying that. There's some feminist stuff that I'm like, oh, I can't believe I'm saying it. But I'm like, well, it's true. Male ego.
Yep.
Just because I'm like, oh my God, it's just one of those things for me personally. I saw feminism my entire life, and I'm like, oh, they say these things. And man, I had my internalized misogyny like crazy. That's for damn sure.
Yeah.
And I was just like, oh, silly women. Honestly, I think at a young age, I was talking about this, or thought about this the other day. Like, I did never like the color pink or anything girly. I always saw girly stuff as weak, like made fun of, not as cool. I don't know how to explain it, honestly. It was just
it
something
kind
at
of
a
was.
young age. Yeah. Yeah.
It basically was implied that those things were weaker. I mean, just look at a boy that likes the color pink. He's called gay. He's called
Yep.
girly, and it's like, no, he's just a kid that likes pink. Let the
Yeah,
kid.
it's a freaking
Flowers
color,
are pink.
dude.
They're wonderful. Like,
Exactly. Oh, look, I have a blue fuzzy thing. I must be a boy,
Yeah.
secretly. Oh, red is more male. I'm a man. That's just ridiculous. It's the colors of the rainbow. I have a rainbow on my arm. I love rainbows. I love unicorns. This has
It's
nothing to do with... I mean, I support LGBT people, but not the T, let's be honest here. I'm like, I just like colors, and I love unicorns. That doesn't...
Yep.
I don't know. I'm just like, take unicorn and rainbows back. I don't know. You know, we should all enjoy it, all right? Whatever.
Yeah,
So it's so tangent-y.
No, I completely understand. It's I mean, not even with the rainbow. It's so crazy how people's identities have been so driven to need to be represented by a flag of some sort.
Or a
keep
mug,
getting
from Target asked me about my pronouns, which is why I already talked about that. That's why I made that. Because I was like, someone on Twitter literally was like, I want a mug that says that. And I was like, I'll do it. It's ridiculous. I'm like,
I
people
truly
feel
don't get
affirmed
it.
by a mug that says, ask me about my pronouns. Like, oh my God, thank you, Target. Or, I don't know, give me another example of some corporate BS. Just,
I mean, just look at every single company's logo right now. For exactly one
Yes.
month, they're going to care about gay people, and then they'll go back to not really giving a single shit. But we
Exactly.
get this 1 month. It's cool.
It's all about the money, baby.
Yeah.
Money. Whatever you can buy, whatever you can wear. What is this, like, gender fluid perfume? Give me a break. Like, you can wear any perfume or cologne you want. It doesn't matter. A lot of women, like, I don't mind wearing male deodorant. I don't
Yep.
know. Like, I
I
don't.
wore male deodorant exclusively for like the
Yeah.
first
Yeah.
15 years I wore deodorant.
Male razors are better back when I used to shave.
100%.
Female razors are a joke. I'm just like, that
But
doesn't
they're
mean.
pink
I know.
and more expensive.
And like curvy and sleek and whatever. Yeah,
For
ridiculous.
our delicate feminine hands, they need extra slim and
Oh, so delicate. Oh, so delicate. Yeah, so what do you call yourself a radical? I don't like calling myself radical feminist now just because I don't like saying I don't mind it, but
yeah.
I don't go around preaching it because there are those girls that are like kill all men and it just isn't understood. Men are like, "Oh, feminism, blah blah blah." I'm like, "Okay, you're talking about liberal feminism.
Yeah.
I wish they were being specific and they never are." I don't have a fear of calling myself that, but I just don't like labels to begin with.
I completely understand that. It's honestly one of the reasons we avoided calling the women's group that I'll get into later, calling ourselves a radical feminist group, even if we agree, all of us kind of agree with all the same things. A lot of people don't like labels, and I can see
Yeah.
why when now collecting labels is a way of life for some people. I consider myself a radical feminist, but I don't sit there and use it like that is who I am. That
like
is
your
my
Bible
identity.
thing. Like there's all these rules. There are some girls
Yeah,
that live
because
by
it's
these.
like,
No nail polish, no makeup,
yes.
no can't be married to male or something. I'm like, all right, this is ridiculous.
It's like,
I
okay,
mean,
now that I'm a radical feminist, I guess I need a divorce because I got married beforehand. Oops.
I just don't believe in that, like the imaginary rule book or whatever. I'm like, if that's how you
Yeah.
want to, I don't know, whatever. Anyway,
I would argue that coming to radical feminism absolutely made me analyze why I like the things I like, why I've
yeah,
enjoyed the things I do. But I came out of the other side recognizing that it's because through years I have discovered I like these things. I like pink and floral because I love flowers. Like I just like being in nature, and I like greens and pinks and purples. And you know, I think so many people get caught up in radical feminism or liberal feminism or trans rights as these social media fads. And it's like people will talk about how I don't consider myself a radical feminist anymore because of the way I was treated in a Facebook group. And it's like, that's not what radical feminism is.
one person? No,
like,
it's not. Yeah.
Like, so do you suddenly not believe in these same things because you were treated poorly? Because that's just not how these things work. If you still believe all the same things, maybe you have a social media problem, not that you're not a radical feminist. I've been treated mean by someone from every walk of life. That's just how humans are.
God, the whole social media thing is just so crazily not real life. Like people get so wrapped up in these arguments and conversations and God, I just think that the internet has ruined humans because I don't believe humans were ever designed to read like people's conversations because people will always interpret what you say from that person's mind, like their walk of life, what they're feeling that day. Did they get enough sleep? Did they eat enough food? Are they hungry? Like, and also with the internet, it's the keyboard's right there. Enter. Like the ease and the quickness at which you can send a thought out. And by the way, it's just a thought. Just can really affect someone in a really real human way. And I say this from, as you know, being on the receiving end of like misinterpreting something, or I'll read it off to my husband, like, "Oh, can you believe this?" And he's like, "I don't think that's what they meant." And I'm like, "What? No, it's what they." It's just like
it's what I think they meant. Damn it.
It's just so utterly complicated, and there's so many humans like floating around on Facebook and all these apps where it's like almost impossible to navigate. And I really do believe these apps really thrive on debates and anger and arguments. I swear to you, like, you know, when I log into Facebook and what it shows me is like this big old long post with all these comments because Facebook wants me to get involved in this shit show or whatever it is.
It's showing you what's getting the most action, and what's getting the most action is often very harmful to your mental health. It's never just people talking about how cute this one puppy is.
Right. Especially in the field of work that we do, Lord.
Yeah, it's interesting the cycle I went through. I feel like when I was just a staunch supporter of the trans rights movement, it was because I was not involved in discourse. And then when, I had my peak trans moment, I kind of realized, oh my God, there is so much discourse being gone on. And that's what got me into radical feminism and being gender critical. And after being in that for like a year or so, it's like, oh, there's just too much fucking discourse going on at all times. And that's why I keep seeing friends posting things where it's like, look, I'm just deactivating my Facebook. This is taking a toll on my mental health. And it's so depressing because the people that spend the most time fighting back at this bullshit are the ones being hurt the most. Because it's just constant. I've lost so many friends. I've lost friends both silently and loudly. I've had friends tell me that my posts just seem like a bunch of turf bullshit, and then they post drunk on my Facebook about just argue with me, talk about it with me. And it's like, you're just drunk and literally want to fight. And I'm not assuming. They literally told me they were drunk and wanted to fight a turf. And it's like, fuck yourself.
Oh my God.
This is on a post about women's rights.
Isn't that interesting though? It sounds like they want conversation, but at the with the
they want their
of, like,
conversation.
Fight. Yes, of course, always, yeah. So you said you did support the trans movement though.
Yeah, I considered myself a liberal feminist without really any analysis. It's like, because my
Isn't that what liberal feminism is? Or you just don't think beyond, like, I don't even know.
But it's like, I guess I didn't really fully get what they were trying to push, because it's like, I considered I hate to use the term sex workers, but I'm going to use it just in terms of how I thought about it.
Yeah.
I considered myself a supporter of sex workers because I so supported helping them get out and helping them find work outside of this and helping prosecute the people that got them into terrible situations. Only to find out that's big swerf energy and I'm a bad person because a 20-year-old on OnlyFans is totally okay with it. So sex work is empowering now. And it's like, but no, it's not though, actually. Can
you explain why it's not? Harmful. To me, it's so complicated. I don't know why. It's just so like, how is it empowering if someone's dangling money over your head for you to get naked? I mean, it doesn't make any effing sense. Like, so they're trying to say it's empowering because you take your life into your own hands and you're a working woman and look at you work your body.
Men want me and give me money, so I'm manipulating them. And it's
I know. I have the power. They want me. I'm like, no, honey. They ask ridiculous demands out of you because you're a fucking item. They don't care about you. And if you act like they care about you, they really want more of you. I've seen this happen with me when I was on Twitch for over 2 years. Some random men would get close and I let one of them buy me something like of course it was like some anime shit or like a skirt, and he was like, send me a photo of your butt, an upskirt thing. But of course he didn't have any of those vibes before though. But I'm like, if men are getting close this is gonna sound so shitty, but unfortunately it's fucking true, especially on the internet though. That's the thing. Like, you don't really know these people, dude. You don't know how creepy and just like, you don't know these people. God, this goes for anyone on the internet, by the way. If men are like after you or giving you a lot of attention, it's not just like, I want to be your friend. This is just my experience. I'm in my 30s. Unfortunately, every time it's happened, where I'm like, oh, this one really is a friend. I swear to you, never is just a friend thing.
Until there is the hint of option they could sleep with you. But
which in their mind is like any hint. If you're just like, oh, are you okay? Like, if you just talk to them, oh my God, they love me. Oh my God, we're getting married.
Literally, we are getting married now. But it's like, if you're even a person who calls yourself a sex worker and you say you feel empowered by it, you're not the one being hurt by the sex industry. You made your own choice. Liberal feminism is all about just personal choice without realizing, okay, but 90% of the people in the sex industry weren't there willingly, are there coercively, are there because they have no other financial options. I had a former friend of mine who was blocked the moment I found out he's a fucking John try to brag about the fact—
What's a John?
John buys women, pays for women to sleep with them.
Okay.
He tried to brag about the fact he has a woman he helps regularly by paying certain bills of hers. And it's like, if you were helping her, you wouldn't be trying to fuck her after you gave that money. You're using her as an object for a transaction. You're not helping her. You shouldn't expect someone's body
Oh
in
my God,
return
that's so
for help.
gross.
And
That's
the
so
fact that
sad.
it's sad, but the fact that a man can say that and not recognize how god awful that is a bigger problem to me. Like, you don't
Yes. Oh,
hear
yes.
yourself.
Clueless. Like, what is that? What is missing from men's teachings? Or, I
Yeah.
mean, I don't know. I mean, I think some of this shit should be taught in schools. There's this program, there's this YouTube channel called Object UK, and this woman interviews amazing people. But she interviewed this man who runs this teaching class for young boys.
Mhm.
I'm totally butchering this. I'll have to throw it up there or something on the graphic thing.
Mhm.
Just teaching boys how to act in the world with women and respect, and it sounds freaking
Wow.
amazing. And I'm like,
Yeah.
wow, this guy's amazing. I mean, God, we need that on like a global level.
Yeah.
um I just is I don't know what it is about men that just can't see like what they're saying and what they're doing. I mean, if they would only listen to women, I guess, doesn't that say a lot when
Well, and then
me
there's such the problem of men that get involved because I have a sister, I have a daughter, and it's like, so you didn't care about women until like
oh
you had one. You were half of the population, and it was like, until I saw my daughter be sad a boy was mean to her, I didn't realize women had feelings. And it's like, you
wow,
didn't?
I
I
know.
just, yeah,
I think
I
it's just I'm guessing it's men aren't taught to feel feelings or emotions, and if you
yeah,
can't tap into your emotions, which by the way is so human, it's not a male or female thing, it's a
yeah.
freaking human thing. If you don't really embrace your emotions and on any emotion scale, then I think that it's like feeling your emotions, and then part of that is empathy and sympathy, and
Yeah.
if you can't even start with this, then of course you'd be like, I don't even know, like
So often men straight up have a problem with their own self-reflection of how they're feeling.
they don't know how to self-reflect. Yeah,
If
that's a
they can't
lost
parse
art.
through how they feel about something, how the hell are they going to understand that other people also feel things?
Plus, it's so easy in this whole system, I guess patriarchy, whatever you want to call it, is framed in a way. If if I'm just talking to a man, I'm like, hey, this is really terrible for women. Look
Mhm.
at, okay, Karen. Ugh.
Yeah.
I'm like, look at this shit. This system is designed for men to never get it, to never understand, because they have these fucking mechanisms to totally just dismiss women and what we're shouting and screaming.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, and Karen has always bothered me. It's
Oh,
like
I hate it. I'm like, I feel bad for
I
all the Karens. I can't stand it. I've never liked it.
yeah, and it's like, I get why you wanted like a kitschy thing for when
Yeah.
there's literally someone being incredibly racist or something, but it's like the Karen thing started with like women complaining about coupons at a store. And it's like, okay, so a woman that spoke up
Yeah.
about an issue is a problem to you. That's strange. You want to
I
delve into that
know.
feeling?
Dude, I know. I thought about that. I'm like, wait a minute. So I guess men are yet again so threatened by women standing up for themselves and being like, I do want to speak to your manager because
Yeah.
there really is a problem with something that's going on. So suddenly, because a woman is stating a clear, obvious thing, and listen, I know some people can like fabricate and be like, and
Yeah.
be annoying, male or female. It's not
Yeah.
just a female thing, by the way.
Nope.
So a woman, having a backbone and being like, I want to speak to your fucking manager. Let's go. They're like, they have to be like, Karen.
Yeah. It's
It's like,
become a
really? Are you
socially
fucking dumb? Are you dumb? What are
it's
you
a socially
doing?
acceptable way to tell women to be seen and not
To shut up.
heard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Shut up. Wah.
And
How about
it's so socially acceptable. Fuck nice.
yeah?
It's so socially acceptable. I was wandering a mall
Sick
for the
of it.
first time in ages the other day, and there were like several just "fuck you, Karen" shirts, and I saw
Oh my
several
God.
like young guys buying them, and it's just like, you're literally buying
Oh Lord.
a "fuck women that are speaking up" shirt, and it's like, look, I get
Yep.
that there are
Seriously.
people that cause problems for no
Yeah.
reason. But to just sit there and be like, any woman speaking out or causing a ruckus, wow, what a Karen. It's like,
I know, it's such a joke.
it
I'm
must
like,
suck to
fucking
have women
weak.
speak up against you.
I
God.
know. Look at how
Must
much they
really.
turn it into something. I mean, it's I don't like doing the thing like, you're just jealous. It's not a jealous thing. It's just they're so weak. Like, it's so dumb. You think we don't know what that is? Like,
Yeah.
it just says a lot about how men don't want women to speak up about issues, like
Yeah.
any issue. Clearly, you have to make fun of it and make
As long as
some
they have the
whatever.
correct opinion, they're allowed to speak up. But as soon as you have
But
the
only men get to
incorrect
decide that.
opinion,
Yeah.
yes, as soon as it's the incorrect opinion or you even question the opinion, you just silence. Even if, like in J.K. Rowling's case, she literally utters flowery support for the trans
Oh yeah, to
community,
the point where I was like, "Damn, this is a little bit too much here." But I'm like,
but
"That's fucking
simply
brilliant."
just saying, hey, maybe there's a little difference between us and female bodies are important to honor in a specific way.
Yeah,
That's
we
too
matter
much.
too.
We should really cancel her. And I don't know if you've seen this, but even to this day, you can still go to her replies and see just people spamming like dick pictures and violent threats. Like, it's upset. It had happened recently when she posted something about like a new children's book thing she was
Yeah,
releasing. There were literally,
Ichabog or something.
yes, she's been posting children's artwork that kids are making,
Oh, it's so
and there
sweet.
are
Yep.
literally they're so cute. There are literally gender extremists in there posting lewd photos of themselves, telling her to suck a girl dick in response to a child's picture that she like tagged a parent in. It's like, you think you're on the right side of history right now. You really think you're doing something, but you're just being a male. Like, you're just being a full-on
Being
male.
really hateful,
Yeah.
being the true bully in the effing room. I'm so tired of like, God, just all of this. It's
Yeah.
ridiculous. It's insanity. Uh, it's so I hate it so much. Women being like convinced. It's just really such a striking fear into the hearts of women to go along with this.
Yeah.
Otherwise, shit, bad feelings is going to happen to you. And it's such a lie, by the way. I really want to enforce that they make you believe that, oh, you're going to lose all your friends. I've heard people be like, you're going to lose you're not going to have any friends on social media. I'm like, oh my God.
No safe space for turfs, they like to say.
Oh Lord, I haven't seen that one, but they say all that shit. Yeah, which is so, how very nice of them to say that. How very welcoming and,
Yeah.
oh, how sweet. Oh, you guys really care about women.
I can tell you want like an open discussion and really care about everything being, talked about. I can tell you care. I can feel
Not
it.
at all. I forgot where I was going with that. What the hell was I saying? Oh, I don't remember. Shit. I said, oh, like I knew.
But, all of this is really to say this is what led me to realizing, oh my God, having an actual women's space with women that recognize what women are and hopefully recognize what's going on. I had never felt so driven to be in a women's space until, I had my peak moment of,
So, hey, commercial break. You can support my work by joining the Rational Revolution on my Subscribestar, which is subscribestar.com/distortedlens. Or you can donate directly through my PayPal, which should be some link somewhere around here. I'll put it up. Just want to have a commercial break and make sure that you support my work. If you enjoy the work that I do, if you get any sort of entertainment, any sort of education, and you just want to support my work, you can do that by doing one of the things I just mentioned. So, back to the show.
Of realizing I've been lied to for several years. I've essentially, and I do consider this with like the women that bend over backwards to support this stuff. Women have been groomed for this for years, for this to go so flawlessly as it is, because we do roll over to these kind of things. We don't want to cause a fuss because that's what we've been told is how women are supposed to be like. And it's just, that's one of the hardest things to recognize, this almost like mass global grooming of women that's only become so apparent to me with the gender extremism movement. And that's what compelled me to sit. I thought to myself, surely I'm not alone. Surely there are other groups of women out there. This is a thing.
Yeah.
So I started looking for radical feminist groups, only to find the one group that calls themselves radical feminists uses the term radical like, cool, dude. And they're very much a liberal feminist local organization. And so I ended up, the one site I found was Wolf, the Women's Liberation Front website. And they have a form, and it's, you have to be fully vetted with a background thing. I finally got an account on there. It's a very slow form because, it's people checking in every so often to be like, is anyone here? And I posted a thing with like my full email address, which I'd started a new email address for all of this because I didn't want to miss anything. I posted my full email address. I'm like, I'm in Seattle. My name is Nancy. This is my email. I need to find other women that need to talk about this. And, nothing happened. And then a month later or so, I got a random email from a woman that also lived in Washington. And she's like, hey, are you still using this email? I just saw your post on Wolf. Do you want to meet up at some point?
Nice.
And that kind of snowballed to like, she knew one woman. I found out the moderator of Gender Critical was nearish to me, or one of them was. And so like I reached out to them, and we ended up getting about, I don't want to say the number wrong, I believe it was 5 women in the beginning. And we had this moment of all sitting around a table and just like having this sigh of relief of like, we can just talk how we want to. We spent the first 2 hours in a meeting, just one by one, talking about how we got there, just pure emotion and raw feeling of this elation of being able to talk about this kind of stuff. Oh, yeah. And I remember we decided, okay, this is going to be a thing. We're going to do this. We later came to decide that our name is SOS Rights for Save Our Sex-Based Rights. And we started trying to like, lure out, I was posting my email and info about it to all of these random groups, just trying to find other women. And we ended up having, I think like 10 or 15 at our next meeting. And we did it in a studio where we could be behind a locked door. And up until the moment, and I didn't realize this because I had already been at one meeting, but all of the new women, up until the moment I locked that door, there were women in that room holding their breath because they were scared it was a trap and that they had responded to something that they were about to be like inundated with hate for something.
Oh my
they were
God,
so
that just gave me chills. I get it.
When they told me that, I literally wanted to cry. It wasn't until we started, like all the original 5 of us kind of shortened our story and told them about it. It wasn't until they started speaking near in tears of just like, I was so scared to come here today because I thought I was going to be attacked. Even though I could see you on Facebook, I saw the messages we spoke. I was so scared I was being lied to. And it was in that moment that I realized, oh, this is all I'm going to do. This is all I want to do. This is all I feel passionate about doing. And we had several meetings after that, slowly, literally just trying to get the groundwork of we'd like to be a real organization, And we got very early on offered the chance to help host the Seattle Library event that Wolf was in part of, that had Megan Murphy and a bunch of other people come down and do a panel at the Seattle Library. We got offered the chance to be like the feet on the ground portion for that. And we immediately jumped at it. It was so amazing. It was so incredible to work with these women in this way. It was so incredible to work in a way where we knew we were going to get backlash. And it was just like that fed us. Like we got excited seeing protest stuff. We got genuinely excited when we saw protesters buy tickets because we could see all the back end. Because we knew exactly who was going to be there. We knew almost exactly where they were going to be because you could see their little group in the thing. Yeah. And it's like, that's what we wanted. It was fucking fantastic. And that was January 2020. And so things kind of exploded a little bit for there. And we've been online only for a bit now. And we're all
I can't believe I missed that. Oh, I wasn't a part of any of this then. Damn. But I heard stories and it looks epic.
It seems to, I've been told by several women now, and it was another moment for me, that being a part of that, seeing the protest, which like I was followed by multiple men in black bloc. Sure. I had to be escorted by police with my mother-in-law. Like, we had to have private security for the speakers who got ushered out of a secret door because there were threats. Yeah. I had several women come up to me either after or even women at the event I met you at tell me that was their first feminist event, and it's what made them realize this is all they want to do. And I still cry when I think about that sometimes. Yep. And, we kind of exploded for a bit, unfortunately, due to just the fact we couldn't meet up technically legally.
Yeah,
And
didn't the
we're
library, or not the library, but the people, the protesters, wanted to shut that down, but the library was like, nah, we can't because this is public grounds or something?
Yes, it was very specifically picked at a library because the same thing happened in, I believe, New York or something, where it's like they canceled all of these other places, but libraries have a very specific code of, we are a public platform to let people
Right.
speak.
Yep.
You know,
Yep.
we're not coming
Which is
in there
amazing,
with
thank God.
guns and like yelling
Just speaking.
slurs.
Yeah.
That's why the chant was just let women speak when people came in there with like horns
epic.
and shit.
I know, of course.
And thankfully, we had people to basically immediately remove them. We got our little segments and clips, which I've seen used in several videos since then, and that's also very exciting.
Of course. That event is like legendary, dude.
It was one of those things where you don't realize the impact of a thing until it's completely over. It was all just such a rush doing it, and then once it was over, it was like, oh shit, something happened here. And having that reinforced at the event I met you at with women, that it's like, I don't remember you from the event, but apparently they gathered 20 people and drove cross country to come see us. And it's like, I had no idea I was a part of that until I was told I was a part of that.
Yeah.
And that's what's made me so enthusiastic about every event that I can comfortably participate in abdicating for, because it's just like, I want more and more women to experience the joy of women's only spaces, experience the joy of being around women who respect their bodies in a way that liberal feminists do not seem to even understand their bodies, let alone respect.
So true.
Because I've honestly yet to meet a woman that has attended one that wasn't moved in some way. And it's become the most important thing to me to help other women feel that way.
100%. And I think a lot of this, what we're saying now, is honestly keeping women separate from each other and not having conversations. I'm not even sure
I'm not even going to delve into it, but we saw it with the event we met at. Until all of us got together and spoke, that was when we saw that there was an issue at hand.
Yes.
And it seemed very intentional that we were kept apart and not really in communication with each other the whole time, because women together are so much more powerful than we are apart.
Huge.
And
I
feel like
people know that, and that's why I think they do inside jobs or plants or
well, I feel like
things.
that's why this whitewashing of the idea of no, anyone is a woman that wants to identify as one, because then it just eliminates women's ability to gather together as women.
Yes.
And it's so disheartening.
Leave us
and
alone.
It's so
why can't
blatant.
we just have our own thing? Just leave us the F alone. This has nothing to do with you.
Yep.
You know, go create your, of course they don't want to, the whole thing is that they don't want to create their own spaces or groups or seminars or once a week meetup thing. For men pretending to be women, because it doesn't affirm, and they don't feel euphoria, or it doesn't, I guess, solidify in their mental illness and in their head that they're a woman. I'm like, but you're not a freaking woman. Go do your own thing. They don't want to do their own thing.
It happens with shelters a lot. You see that push to have men put into women's shelters. And it's like, look, if you want to create a trans-only shelter, I would fully support that. Because if you are people that need your own space to escape a harmful, abusive situation, you deserve to escape an abusive situation. But that doesn't mean it's on the backs of women who fought tooth and nail to get a single building that caters to them, like a single sport that caters to them. It's not your space to take. People like to say that rights aren't a pie. We're not taking anything from you, but it's blatantly taking things.
Yes.
It's so blatant.
It's just they don't have any business. Notice that when there's a women-only group anywhere, to be honest, especially on the internet, men just magically butt in. And I've seen this, happen time and again. Recently, some woman posted about I think it was just some Instagram page or something, where it was like brand new and barely had any followers. And like all of a sudden, some dude's like, so does this include, I hate using the language, trans women? It's like, no, go away. Leave us alone, for the love of God. Can you respect our no? Because no is enough of an answer. That's what I was saying earlier about, like, a lot of women say no. why are we so bending over backwards to listen to you and what you want to do, men pretend to be women, but when women say no to you in our spaces and our shelters, on our online spaces, you need to like listen and care about us, I guess. Like if why are we so much gonna how hypocritical and so ironic or whatever and so insulting and so we see you, dude.
Yeah.
Like we're supposed to respect you like through and through no matter what, but when we say no and we have feelings.
Yeah.
Did you hear that? Oh, I didn't hear that.
The worst part to me is when it's not a dude asking if this includes all women. If it's a woman asking,
yeah.
This group says it's all women. Do you actually mean all women? And it's like, yeah, we mean all women. You know what I mean by all women.
Some of those people could, if you think about that, it could so easily be a man with just finding some random woman's photo on the internet and uploading. You know what I mean? Like the internet is such a weird place.
I'm sure that's happened because
though.
I've definitely seen like small profiles, but it's like I've known women that say things like that.
Yeah, no, I know.
This performative wokeness of
because everyone sees that. That comment is
on.
The comments on the internet, and everyone or anyone can see that. And so people really do this virtue signaling like crazy. Even within like the feminist community, I don't want to call it the feminist. I guess it's just confused people, to be honest.
Yeah.
I don't remember what it was. Oh, I was on Twitter and I was like, I don't have time to like write out these long things, and I hate writing shit on my phone anyway. And I just linked to one of my interview videos because it was related to the topic that was being discussed on Twitter. Some younger grad femme girl or whatever was like, can you not tell us what the video's about? And I was like, well, I mean, I gave you don't have to watch it. I'm just like, it's there. Like, I don't know. I also don't have time to like give everyone this breakdown. And this girl like went on this rampage and was like, look at what Lindsay's saying. She wants me to watch an hour-long video. Can you believe this person? And she won't describe it to me. And I was like,
literal
wow,
violence.
coddling. Yeah. It's just the coddling of the not even American mind, the coddling of that generation, expecting things to be handed to them. And I'm like, dear God in heaven, dude. Like, I don't know, whatever. This is a small thing, but it's just very interesting to see how these people in the world act now, where it's just like, what? Wow.
I've said it before to women that I see making that argument of like, well, I don't have any problem with trans women in my bathrooms. And it's like, okay, well, if you don't have any problem with males in women's bathrooms, why don't you go to the men's room? You don't get to give away the privacy and safety of women that did not consent to this. You do not get to consent for whatever room of women you happen to walk into. I don't consent to that. You don't get to consent for me. If you're comfortable with males around you, go piss in a urinal. I don't care. You're allowed to. Like, fine, go for it. And that's like you don't get to give away, and it is a safety thing. It's not the same when a woman goes into, or when they like to argue, it's like, oh, so you want a trans man in the women's restroom? When a female decides to go trans, like if you want same-sex bathrooms, if a female decides to trans herself to a man, she is putting that risk on herself going into men's restrooms.
Yes.
When a male transitions to a female, as they think they're doing, they're putting the risk on every single other person in that restroom.
Selfish, how utterly, all about them.
And it's like you don't get to do that.
No, of course
Women
not.
have said no. And the one that said yes doesn't get to count for me.
Preach. Man, and I've heard multiple stories of men. Oh God, one of them was so disturbing. I forgot who the interview was with. Doesn't matter, but
they're all
some woman. I know. It's just there's stories exist out there. Partners for Ethical Care. For Ethical Care. Lord, it's a tongue twister. Aaron Brewer, Object UK. I don't know. There's so many great YouTube channels. I should honestly make I have a Medium where I try to put, one of my Medium posts is all these resources and links to like, if you want to know more information. And I was like, I've always been wanting to like, someone who has Clueless, and I'm like, oh, check out this post that has all these links if you're curious. So I want to have one that's like YouTube channels that you should check out. Anyway, this woman was in the woman's bathroom, and there were two men pretending to be women. One of them had their dicks out. And was just, I don't know, gyrating on the other one and just doing some sort of gross sexual thing. And there were women in line just being like, and like a little girl was there. And one of the women that came in was like, you need to get out of here. Or you need to do that, like, or get out. and the dude got violent and chased her out of the bathroom into the parking lot. These men are violent. These men are they're men, and men are more powerful than women. These men are also just really deranged, not mentally
there. You can see screenshots of men on Twitter literally posting selfies of themselves half nude in the bathroom of
this is a
rape.
whole thread. I'll link to that. It's incredibly not safe for life.
God.
But yeah, videos. I couldn't finish watching it. It was horrible.
Literally like a selfie of this guy saying, I'm about to walk around with my dick out at the rape crisis shelter, because they weren't allowed to turn him away. And it's like,
they get off on that. Yeah,
and
they get off on that power trip.
You're just selling out the safety of every single vulnerable woman in the area. And I keep saying the word blatant. I don't get how other people don't see how blatant this is.
I know. It's absolutely insane. Because I think they're not mentally allowed to, with this whole terror and striking fear into people. I don't think that they even allow their own minds to go there. Because I mean, just think about it. I mean, the more you get indoctrinated, the more you support this, even being coerced into supporting it. Imagine being like, seeing something that, because it's going to be inevitable, where you're like, oh, I don't know about that. And then I'm sure your own mind is like, stop that, you fucking TERF, or like, transphobe. Because like that thing, I think, has to ring in their head. We're like just questioning it in their own freaking head. Yeah.
It's how I felt when I got attacked for those things. And as I've basically helped other friends peak, both men and women, I've seen that same thing happen. Even when they're like, wow, there's an issue here that I didn't recognize. I do think there is a problem. I'm scared though. Like literally just, am I supposed to talk about it? What do I do? I'm going to lose friends. And it's like, yes, suck it up and join the club. Like, we need people willing to talk about this thing. And it sucks being scared about it, but that's how they want you to feel.
Yes, that's how they'll win. That's how they'll keep this going. If people just keep staying in fear. And I used to be like, oh, I understand you have a job and you don't want to lose your job. Now I'm like, you got to fucking speak out, because this is only going to get worse. I do believe this is kind of the beginning. I don't know how to explain it. That's what I was saying earlier, that they make you think that you're alone and that there's no one else out there that thinks like you. You must stay with us. I'm like, it's such a freaking lie. There are so many people out there that are able to think freely and have conversations and discuss what the freak is going on. It's a lie. Everything they say is a lie. It's not true. There's so many people out there that are ready to talk about this and will welcome you gladly. Be like, come on in, sit on down, grab a cup of coffee, let's go.
Enthusiastically shower you of just like, we know you've been hurt, it's okay. And what's interesting to me is it feels like gender extremists do it to both sides. They're very intentionally trying to tell women, if you think these things, no one will like you, your family will disown you.
Really
but at the same time, they're telling these vulnerable children who are having gender identity crises, your parents don't actually care about you. Your friends dead name you behind your back. Like, they want you.
You said my pronouns, but I knew you were saying it out of spite or just ridiculousness.
Like, they want people to feel isolated, because when you feel isolated, it's so much easier to be manipulated. But when you recognize there's so much community, it's so much harder.
And there's no fear. Let me tell you, it's indescribable. You know, man, I remember I had the feeling of it was a slow thing, you know, putting out like articles, or I wasn't even saying like, this is bullshit, what the fuck, people. I was just like, all I said was, think about what you're supporting. That's all I said. And that's when I got the pile on. I've said it a million times, but I think it's still important, I guess, to repeat it. But the article I posted was the father that raped their own child was in prison, was getting taxpayers' money to get a transition and also be put in a women's prison. And that's the article I posted. And I was like, think about what y'all are, like, what it is you're supporting. And I got the pile on. And I was like, dude, if this is the hill you guys are going to die on, this says a lot about, you know, like, this is the shit you're going to back up and be like, you're a phobe or whatever. I'm like, wow, dude, I am terrified that some of those people have children, first off. Okay. I'm like, what the fuck? My red flags are shooting up, man. Whatever. you know, and I keep saying this, you'll get that pile on, you'll lose quasi friends, to be honest. Some of them were people I don't even talk to anymore. It's just
I don't
Facebook
give a
friends.
shit about people that
Yeah.
don't care about my rights. So
Exactly. Yeah. Or try to like talk about trash about my art. I'm like, that's okay. That's your opinion. Also completely not related.
Yeah.
The pile on will happen. I'm just going to say that it will happen. I'm not going to be like, maybe it'll happen. It'll happen.
Yep.
But then after that, you'll wake up the next day and you're like, wait, I didn't die. And I have this other support of people that can think rationally and have conversations. It's such a freeing thing of like, wait, and it's just, man, there's this level of being so proud of yourself, of standing in the truth or standing with integrity, that honestly is so indescribable. There's nothing like it. Nothing tastes as good as freedom. I don't know. It's just like, it's so good. It's so good. It really has made me fearless, and just the more that I stand up to these absolute bullies and freaking cowards, it really has this, and it did take time for me. Listen, I joined this like in like December last year. It really has this, the more I do it, the more I stand up to it, the more it doesn't affect me. Because, I mean, also you'll notice they have like these classic phrases that, and I should write these down at some point, where they're like, you know, 41% suicide, you know, just these crappy arguments they use that can be shattered within one, like, really, but, or regardless kind of a conversation. They have these things that they just keep repeating and parroting this, I guess, indoctrinated cult language to combat people who are free thinkers, I guess. You'll start noticing it when you start standing up against this, and you'll be like, wait, this is this shit again? This conversation again? You can start predicting them, like, what's going to be the next thing?
Yep.
It's like they're reading from the same rule book. It's not even that long or complicated. It's utter trash. So you'll stop feeling threatened by it, because you're like, wait, this is crap. This is just like, this isn't even from their own minds. This is from the indoctrination rule book.
The only argument they're able to do is moving the bar. And they will bring up an argument, you will have a coherent response to them, and then they will just go, okay, well then what about blah, blah, blah.
Yes,
and it's like, you won't acknowledge anything I just said.
So true.
And
Good
that's
point.
what shows me that it resonated in a way you don't like.
Ain't got shit. You're like, all right, so they ask a question or whatever, bring up some statement, and then you bring in the logic, and they don't even address you saying anything, and they immediately are like, well, what about men's feels or whatever? It's like, I thought we were talking about this. Can you really not address this? Then you'll just notice they don't have any sort of, I guess, really individual thinking behind what they're saying.
They think discourse and
crazy.
Discussion is just... I hate the phrase, but I'm going to say it. Their idea of discourse and discussion is circle jerk. Like, it's just, as long as you're saying the same opinion back at me, ooh, I love it. It's so good. But the moment you even, like, slightly veer off in the tiniest indiscretion, they see that opportunity for... woke activism and really teaching you a lesson about, the wrongs of what you just said. No actual like evidence or information about
and really
why
a
you're
lot
wrong.
of it's guilting
just
you,
you're wrong.
making you trying to make you feel guilty, or you should like. None of it is like good vibes, dude. Like, seriously, all of it is so negative, and to me, it really feels completely evil.
Yeah.
Like even the shit. It blows my mind, because one of my really good friends out here, Heather, I love you. Reach out to me. What the hell? It was because I was like, hey, did I lose you too? This is kind of like after the pylon was happening. She's like, hey, no, it was something where it took her a week to reply, and I was like, what's going on? I could just tell.
Yeah,
She's
something
like, no.
was.
She was like, no, I'm just trying to gather my thoughts about how to approach your anti-trans stance. And I was like, so you wording it like that already sets me up on the defense, because you say I'm anti-something. And I'm like, man, I don't even think, because I'm like, God, this doesn't even seem like my friend would act. It's so like accusatory of me being the bad guy right off the bat. And I'm like, listen, that doesn't really bode well with me. That makes me immediately defensive, because I know it's not true. And I just think it's so interesting. It is a psyop, dude, because these people speak in a way that I'm like, wow, you're being really cruel. Where did this come from?
They're programmed. They know what responses to have to these things that make their brain feel bad.
Yes.
And it's so disheartening. It's so sad to see. And I feel sad and shitty for having been a part of it. And I think that's part of why I feel so passionate about this. And I know plenty of other women like that, where it's like,
Oh, yeah.
I hate that I even remotely supported this concept because, wow, was I blind to what's going on. The one thing I like to do when I get addressed like that with something I say being told, well, you're talking about this anti-trans thing, my go-to response, and it pisses about 70% of people off, is I'm not anti-trans. This is me talking about pro-women things. Those are not anti-trans bills. Those are pro-women and girls bills.
Yes.
This is
Yep.
this is you are framing this in a way they've told you to without any critical thought about it whatsoever.
Exactly, because they can never back up like the real.
Yeah.
Again, none of what they say is sounds even anything like it was from themselves and how they
Yes.
really feel about it. It's so parroted, and
Yeah.
I'm like, who is this? You're a shell of a person now. You're literally like, what happened? It's so funny because the stuff they say to you is like, what happened to the Lindsay I used to know? Whoa! I'm like, what happened to you, dude? Like, what
Yeah.
happened to you? Crap! I was gonna say something.
I'm more confident about who I am than ever. What the hell are you going on about?
Exactly. Oh, I pray you'll find your way back. And I'm like, to what? What?
What do you,
I don't, it's so
the
crazy.
cult. Come back to the cult. Like,
No, not at all.
ugh.
Yeah. Oh, that's what I'm going to say. Yeah, I think it's important to bring it back to reality, and it's about men are men, women are women, and I'm fighting for women's rights and women's single sex spaces, and girls' bodily integrity are just. This has nothing to do with this that tea thing. I'm not even talking about that. Men are men.
I don't know
women
if
are
you've read
women.
it, the book Irreversible Damage by Abigail
Oh, I
Schreier.
have, yeah. Mm-hmm.
I love that book simply for how
read it again.
regularly she reemphasizes this is not about adults. This is not about however you identify as an adult, whatever. This is talking about there is an issue with children. And we, as the adults in the room, need to be recognizing this. This isn't an attack on any one person. This is saying we have a child problem and we are the adults and we need to fix this. And I think that's so important to remember in some of this stuff where it's like, so many of these arguments aren't blanket judgments of every single person. They are simply saying they are gender extremists will often say there is no debate. There is a debate. There is a long debate that needs to happen. There is a discussion that needs to happen because these are people, these are adult and children's actual lives. Like they are humans.
Permanent damage,
there are so many doctors that will openly admit to the fact we don't really know what we're doing with this treatment. It's all affirmative, and that's not how medicine works. Like,
No.
I can't just go to the doctor and say, give me that medicine. I have to have that problem.
Yeah. It's so unfortunate. These people are being sold an absolute lie about. Oh my God! I'm like, are these people freaking serious? Like a child that's 4 years old or like 12 months old says, I say it's a girl, and it's like, I'm a boy. Oh my God, transgender. We're going to put you on puberty blockers as soon as we can. And you're going to choose a medical pathway instead of being like, all right, kids say the darndest things. Remember that phrase? Wasn't that a phrase at some point? Like,
yes.
I mean, why are we taking what children think and say as like facts? I mean, this goes for anyone, actually. Like, your thoughts are not always you. Like, it's just a thought. And I think if you're thinking that, it shouldn't be dismissed, and feelings and thoughts do matter, but that doesn't mean they have to become your reality, especially when, like, so many of these things, I mean, like, almost all of them, especially if they're young, you'll grow up and possibly grow out of it. Let's be real here. I don't think anyone should be operated on straight up. That's just my opinion. I don't think it's, I mean, whether or not you're older or not, I understand that, older people have the wherewithal and knowledge to operate their own body and get a fake chode penis, not even, I don't want to call it a penis, a sausage thing sewn on their body, but I don't believe in that either. Only because it's just, I try to say this in such a more sincere way because people get so bothered when I say it's a lie. I'm like, well, it's not authentic, really. It's not what you really are. And I mean, I want to respect people's dysphoria or dysmorphia, because that is certainly a real thing. Like mega, it's real. I had anorexia for 6 years. It was a real fucking thing. I still deal with that. I look in the mirror, I'm like, I'm fat, and I'm like, no, you're just, it's water weight from
Your
drinking alcohol
brain
or
is just
whatever.
doing things right now.
Yes, especially when I'm going through my menstrual cycle, I'm like, I feel like I've gained 5 pounds. I'm like, I have to literally go into my head and go, no, you're about to get your menstrual your period, whatever. This is a normal bodily thing. You're not fat, all right?
I use that comparison a lot when I'm talking with people who are kind of new to this discussion, because I've also had basically a lifelong eating disorder,
Everyone
and
has them, by the way, dear Lord.
there's so many of
So
them.
common,
There's
so
so many
common.
trans males that are very eating disorder ridden. That's another whole
Oh
thing.
yeah, oh yeah.
But I will regularly use the argument. It's like if you had a daughter that came up to you and was clearly underweight, but told you if I could just have weight loss surgery, I would be happy again. Like I would, that was what would make me happy. That is, I feel like I need to have this to be the person I need to be. You would not shop your daughter around to different doctors, finding the one that would give them
Butcher.
weight loss surgery. You would get them into therapy and analyze,
Yeah.
why do you feel that way? Why is this what you want to do to yourself? Is there anything that led you to feel this way? Because we don't let children make these kind of decisions for themselves. And it's sickening that we can recognize that they're similar in that way of like body dysphoria, body dysmorphia. You literally don't, it is a difficult thing to deal with. And to just say, oh yeah, well then let's chop them titties off. It's fine. And it's like, that's not what you would do. That's not how medicine works.
You don't mutilate a body. My God, I always say you only have one freaking body. To just willy-nilly jump right into it, and they try to be like, oh no, there's gatekeeping and it takes forever to get this done. I'm like, no, there's so many stories coming out. It took like
maybe
3
it
months.
takes a while. Maybe it should take a while, and it takes a while for a reason. Like, but that's just it. It's you're right. It doesn't, and it's to the point that even if people can get them fast, they're still buying like illicit, weird anime branded cross-sex hormones from like an online retailer in a different country, and it's like, that sounds insane, but that's literally what's happening. Like,
how is this happening though? These are like controlled substances, are they not? Testosterone and whatnot? How
I feel like they're probably not controlled in different countries the same way they are here, and so that's why you can get like Russian testosterone cream shipped directly to your home. It's insane.
Yeah, but I've seen an ad on Facebook Land. I'm not going to mention it. That was like, for like wrong sex hormones, and I'm like, how? Nothing on it looked like it was from like a different country. I'm like, how is this?
Often those places work by that organization has like a doctor working for them. You sign in a thing, and that doctor just goes, "Yep," and boom, you get your drugs. And
I love
it's
how we all
like,
think that doctors are like, all doctors are great and all doctors know the right thing to do. That's not true. I mean,
just look at plastic surgeons right now.
Get another doctor's opinion. Like, so we're now going to think that, I don't know, whatever, I'm all over the place. It's just ridiculous.
No, it's really a problem. Just as I said, look at plastic surgeons right now. You can see them preying on this community, offering like nullification surgeries for non-binary, and posting all the good things about, oh, look how proud he is now that he has no nipples. And it's like,
blasting that on the internet, by the way. That's a woman's naked chest. And they're like, yay!
No,
like,
it's fine now.
The surgeon's like posing with the like creepy hand on the kid. The kid always looks so uncomfortable. I've seen unveiling or like the unwrap it videos, and man, it's awkward.
It's like, how
I've never seen them look genuinely happy. I'm like, that doesn't. It looks shocked. They look like they're shocked. Like,
you read it from detransitioners all the time that it's, I had this surgery, I woke up the next day and I realized
immediately,
fuck, this didn't help at all. It's something else. Yeah. And it's like, of course it didn't.
They focus on something else. They're like, because I mean, honestly, if you think about it, you have you have a womanly body, larger breasts, and you have hips because you're a woman, and you chop these off. All of a sudden, you look in the mirror, and guess what's next? Your hips are going to be like screaming at you because the proportions are now off. So, and I've heard this time and again, it makes total sense. If you have an illness or a mental thing going on in your head where you focus on maybe singular body parts or multiple body parts, and you fix or alter or really ruin, eliminate a part of your body, guess what? You're going to focus hugely on something else on your body. I think the same
Yep.
thing is with women that get crazy facial surgery stuff. Say you get a nose job, all of a sudden your lips or your chin or your cheeks don't look
Yep.
proportionate because you've altered your nose, which I mean, this is the body that God gave me. So like, and I've seen this with whatever. This is so tangenty, but the Olsen older sister has gotten a nose
Yes.
job clearly, and from the front it looks okay, but from the side she looks like a pug. Like the nose, it doesn't proportionally look.
Yeah.
I can tell it doesn't. It's not natural. It's just how is it? You're starting off with like, oh, get rid of this. And of course, you're going to focus on something else that,
Yeah.
if you have dysphoria or whatever, you look in the mirror and your mind thinks you're a man, but your reality will always hit you. You're going to want to like shave away you're like eliminating you. You're cutting off parts of you. What is that?
That's why I think getting into the protection of children in this is so important, because it really
Yes.
is this like disgusting medicalization of an entire generation
Experiment.
of
Yeah.
children. Because they've shown in studies that if kids are just allowed to kind of, it's not a phase, mom, that's a trope. If they're just allowed to get past this phase of not feeling comfortable in their own bodies without any medical interaction, they revert to their birth sex as their identity, almost like I think like 90% of the time or something
it's
crazy
huge.
like that.
It's
It's huge. But if you start them on those puberty blockers, they are not going to turn away. And then they're on puberty blockers, and then they're on a life of hormones, and then they need surgeries. And it's like, and to do what? To wear an outfit that looks like what I don't want to even wear every day? Like,
You're stealthing every day of your life, trying to convince
yeah.
the world and yourself that you're not. I mean, that you're that.
And
Sex.
it's a
It's not
life
true.
of it. You can't
No.
just go off
Yeah.
these things. And
Yeah.
it's like,
Especially if you eliminate the body parts that regulate your hormones and
Yeah.
whatnot, like testicles and
it
ovaries and
destroys
whatnot.
you.
You have to be on artificial, what your body naturally, if I'm going to assume a lot of them obviously detrans, where you have to be put on artificial hormones that your body was originally making authentically and just, naturally. Like, how awful is that? I mean,
Yeah. It's
oof.
it's insane. It's truly wild, and it's just it feels like, we're in the middle of dealing with the big pharma cover-ups of the opioid crisis, and it's like, so you can't
This
think
is so much bigger
maybe
than
that
that,
they're
yeah.
insidious in other ways too?
I know.
Like
I
you
know.
can't see the rainbow capitalism in the medical industry because it's there.
So much money, so much money. I mean, look at all the look at the corporations, and I mean, especially starting today, Pride Month.
Yeah.
Lord, you really think that they give a flying fuck about you as an individual? All they care about is your wallet.
Yeah. And even the
corrupting
Pride
your
Month
brain.
stuff that corporations do for rainbow capitalism is so disingenuous. It's like, I don't talk about the fact I'm bisexual because I'm not trying to claim LGBT rights stuff. I am a
Right.
bisexual woman, though. And it's like, just because I am same-sex attracted doesn't mean I'm decked out in gay pride stuff every day. I'm just like a normal people. You don't need to rainbow everything to prove you give a shit about for me for the month of, 1 month.
I find that people that do that, where they consume all this clothing or jewelry or whatever, it's so performative. Where I'm like, you're not gay, you're not bi. I'm not buying it. There was this Twitch streamer that was like randomly, he's like, I'm bisexual, and like rainbow. It was so obnoxious. She was wearing like all this ridiculous rainbow stuff, and was like, how much rainbow stuff do I have to wear to convince you that I'm a lesbian or whatever? And I was like, dude, because you're
None.
not lesbian. I'm like, exactly. I'm like, you don't have to do any of that.
Yeah.
To me, it's just one of those things where, like, if you're saying, I have just this DID, and like all these kids being like, I have all these mental illnesses, I'm like, listen, if you really had those, it's of my belief that if you had those, you wouldn't be saying, I have these. Like, no, you fucking don't. You self-diagnosed.
You can literally
From
see
some
them
Tumblr
listing.
cartoon. Yeah.
Yes, you can literally see them on Tumblr listing a paragraph of just all of the labels that they have acquired. Some of them often like 10 different sexuality labels, because you're only interested in feminine presenting individuals that aren't technically cis males. They have to be smart to like them. And it's like, well, that one feels ableist. That one just seems like you're trying to say you're bisexual but don't like straight dudes. Like 7 different types of neurotypical, and it's like, you don't need to collect labels. You're just a person.
Puts you in more boxes. And I
Yeah.
also find that when these kids or people join in on this parade of labels, you're like walking on permanent eggshells. Like no matter what, someone's gonna get butthurt or like, because they're making up bullshit ideas on the daily. So like, you're gonna be blindsided on the regular of like, you've offended this person, you forgot to say that, you didn't include this. It's just like, how exhausting.
Well, and it's becoming mandatory to accept labels because you can constantly see people getting called out on Twitter for, hey, you could put she, her in your bio. And it's like, or you could not tell me how to live my life. Like you can call me whatever pronouns you want because I don't give a shit. Like
exactly. I don't care. Yeah. That doesn't bother me. I think it just really sets people up for, you're going to inevitably be really upset when someone does not abide by your pseudo reality. It's a trap, dude. Run away. Yeah. Like you are setting yourself up for a world of you're going to be constantly upset. It's like if you didn't have anxiety or depression before joining the cult and that rainbow or the umbrella, boy, howdy, are you going to be freaking hating life. And guess what? Maybe then you'll be suicidal. Oh my gosh, no way. Hello? It sounds freaking miserable. It's such a lie. Glitter family, yay! The Blues Clues fucking parade. Shut up. Oh my god, gross. I'm sure you've seen that. Maybe not. Oh god, yeah. Horrible. No, man alive.
It's one of those things where even though at one point I considered myself a part of it, I still feel so lost as to how we got here. Because it feels like it moved so fast and has systematically hurt so many people. And it just continues to. And they're almost exclusively women. Like, I mean, just look at what detrans is and look at the numbers of children being put into these clinics. It's just hurting women and girls.
Yeah.
It's social contagion, yes, especially with it happens with eating disorders and these things. It's like so clinically acknowledged that social contagion is especially problematic for young girls. And yet groups of 10 girls suddenly all identifying as non-binary in a school, just like, oh no, that's normal. They're just fine.
Authentic. They're living their truth. Shut up. No, they're not. They've been
Remember
brainwashed.
When you could, it's like I used to say the joking phrase all the time of, this isn't a phase, mom. This is who I am. I'm not any of those things anymore. Like
I know how many of us went through phases of like goth or, eating disorder, cutting yourself, like not good stuff, or even
check.
I know, seriously. It's like, I mean, that stuff obviously like either makes or breaks you. And I feel like most people honestly overcome them in one way or another.
Unless the medical industry gets their hands on you.
Exactly. I know. Yep. 100%. Yikes.
Yeah.
Ugh. Is there anything else you want to talk about? I could talk about everything forever, to be honest.
I know. I'm the same way. It's like I could just I can start a tangent about the LGBTQ and how much I hate the word queer. And now suddenly it's okay to call people slurs. Well, it's like I have friends who I do believe actually are bisexual and they call themselves queer. And it's like, you as like a 20-year-old don't get to use an umbrella term for a community when I know people personally who were like spit on and beat the hell out while being yelled at and called a queer. Like you don't get to reclaim a slur for other people that were hurt by it.
I don't understand that thing. Me personally, I don't understand like how women call themselves dyke. That's just me. I'm like, ooh, that's really from when I grew up and me when I heard that, I'm like, that is a really offensive term. And I just don't get it. I don't know. That's just me.
I understand that completely because it is used as a hurtful term for a lot of people. And for me, it's like, I'm fine if you want to call yourself queer, even though I don't think that means anything. Yeah. I'm fine if a woman wants to call herself a dyke because it's like, no, fuck you. That's what I am. But it's like to look at a group of butch women and be like, look at all those dykes. It's like, you don't get to tell them who they are. You don't get to assign people with a different sexuality the label queer because, it's an umbrella term. It's inoffensive. And it's like, no, I know people that were beaten and called queer. You don't get to speak for them. You don't get to speak for people just because you think you're the most correct.
Isn't that the problem with labels again, though? You know, like this whole label thing, it can be used either way. Like, yeah. Wait, there was something that you said that you're like, I don't want to talk about it, or just at the time, something about young people. Oh, boys. Oh, something about young boys pretend to be women that have eating disorders.
No, I
What
was
is that
saying
shit?
in the trans men community, as in
Yeah.
females.
Oh.
Uh,
But I've seen men that pretend to be women that are super emaciated,
oh
which is
God,
so
you
infantilizing, like little kid,
100%.
like
You
pedo.
you unearthed a terrible memory of mine, and that is I
Me? Oh,
you
great. I
no
have that
no no no, but
talent.
in like a good way. It was a
I know. I'm kidding.
horrifying thing to discover.
Oof.
I randomly went and looked for, I don't know how involved you were in eating disorder communities
Oh,
online,
huge.
like 10
Huge.
years ago kind of thing.
Huge.
Same. I recently went back and found one of those old terrible websites I used to go on to, only to find that all this time it was owned, ran, and like fully operated by a dude. A dude who
What?
identified as a woman.
Shut
But
up.
yeah, I was horrified. It's like, oh, this
If it's
site
still
made
up,
me feel.
don't say it because I don't want people to know
I
about
will
it, but
not, but I will
yeah.
send it to you.
Yeah. Holy
I was
shit.
absolutely
What?
horrified because it's like this site made me feel like trash all the time. This is where I
Oh my
basically
God.
went to like self harm
Wow.
myself
That's
eating
insane.
disorder style. And I randomly just found it on like an About Me page there. And I was like,
Holy
holy
shit.
fucking shit. Holy shit. And it's just one of those like, this feels so insidious. This feels like I've been manipulated my entire life.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so upsetting. Like, my
That's
God.
insane. I know. I know. A lot of it does feel like so deceptive and losing faith in humanity type
Yeah,
stuff.
100%.
What, this is so random. The puberty blocker thing. I'm like,
Hmm.
it's in the name. It blocks
Yeah.
puberty. Like, why don't
Well,
they call it puberty pausers? If they keep being like, oh no, it's actually
it's
pausing. Why are you calling it blockers then?
literally,
Block.
we're using it off of FDA recommendation. It is an off-label use every single time it is given to
And
people as
Mr.
puberty
Levine
blockers.
is advocating for that. Like, yay,
Yep.
yay,
And
Mr. Government guy.
it's so upsetting because it's like it's often Lupron, which is they
Yep.
put children on it for a very specific reason, for as short as medical of a time as possible, because some kids do go through actual puberty way too young, and they need to be like, you can't be a 4-year-old with a period. We got to get you to like 7, and then they cut it immediately. Um, they use Lupron often, which is like a drug that has several lawsuits against it for the absolute devastation it's done to women. I had been actually recommended it as a
Oh God.
possible prescription when I was going through my uterine issues.
Yeah, I heard about the
And
endometriosis lady.
yes, and I was told
Not good.
specifically by my doctor, it's like, it's not good, it will help, but I absolutely refuse to give it to you for more than 1 year. I will cut you off at 1 year, even if it's incredibly helpful to you, because it will harm you irreversibly. That is what my doctor told me.
Wow.
And it's like, we're putting children on this for several years because they feel like it.
The same drug that was used to, or is it still used to chemically castrate sex offenders? Hello?
I don't know if it's still used, but yeah,
What the
that's
what the hell, people? Suddenly this is somehow supposed to be safe?
yeah.
Oh God, I have to look that up, but was there not some stories about women that were on that for endometriosis? Not only was their endometriosis pain like not as bad as the pain as they have now permanently from
Yes.
Lupron, but it's something about horrible bone issues.
Yes.
Like your teeth are connected to your jaw bone and your freaking skull of your face. Doesn't it largely mess with bone density? Like
Yes,
where
that's
your
one of the
bones
reasons.
crumble or like very brittle and weak?
That's one of the reasons that my doctor was so specific, and I would not give this to you for more than a year, and I would have to undergo like testing while I was on it to make sure it wasn't hurting me any more than what I had already was. And it's like,
Yeah.
oh no, thank you. I will pass on that entirely. But I appreciated the warning because it feels like it's more than being given to kids right now.
Oh
And
yeah, they don't get
what the
any. I
fuck?
mean, they don't. I don't think they give them warnings because if give them a sliver of a warning, they'll likely. Well, maybe not though. Maybe they're so
Well, I was
brainwashed
going to
not to
say,
think.
often they are not. I've heard plenty of people say they did not know the side effects that would occur,
Yeah.
but I've heard plenty say that they did. But it's like when you're a child, your brain is not
Like I'm
formed.
invincible. I'm invincible.
You
I'm
can't make
untouchable.
those decisions.
Yeah.
You literally are mentally incapable of making those decisions
Yeah.
rationally.
You know how many decisions people make in your teen years or when you're younger, where you're like, wow, you look back when you're older, like I could have died like 50 freaking times.
So
There's
many
so many
times.
decisions that were so dangerous.
Yep.
So it's like, of course they would, even if they maybe were warned about the side effects. I think that
Yep.
this whole being affirmed at every angle in the year we, the world we live in now,
Yeah.
as if they would listen to that one sliver of like rational voice when first of all they're not even taught to think rationally about anything really, you know,
Well, it's
any
like,
sort
and if
of
a doctor is telling you, look, it's going to
yeah,
have these side effects, but it's going to help you so much. Like it's going to work with your
exactly.
gender dysphoria. You'll be able to live your truest life. Also, your uterus might rot out and just like absolutely devastate you for the rest of your life, but you'll feel so good about your identity. And it's like, a child isn't hearing all of
Yes.
those words. They just are incapable of hearing all of those words.
So true. So true. So true. God, and what's so terrible about this is like I honestly don't know how to convince younger generation that we know what we're talking about. Like, oh, it's
Yeah.
just it's the classic thing of being like, "Shut up, mom," or like,
Yeah.
you know, older people knowing and
I keep
having lived
saying it.
through
It's
life.
not a phase, mom. And it's like, sweetheart, it is. Just let.
I don't know how to convince them. I think it has to
Yeah.
come from someone who is they look up to, you know.
Well, I think that's one of the biggest problems the gender extremists have with detransitioners is because, like, they out of everyone, they know how these children feel. They
Yeah.
went through the exact same thing, and they are a threat because they're coming out there rationally and saying, I didn't know what I was doing. I regret this decision. This is how I felt, and this is how I feel now. And that's a threat to people
Of
who don't
course.
want to think about what's going on.
Yeah, of course their voices are being silenced, and how
Yeah.
utterly upsetting is that? You, God, I can't even imagine the turmoil and
Yeah.
being cast out from the community, and
And
then
to immediately
having,
be rejected by your
yeah,
entire community, every
having the
single friend you've
bravery,
had.
having the bravery to talk about what happened to you and
Yeah.
admitting that you were wrong at a young age to
Yep.
even to yourself or to the internet or the 60 Minutes thing or like any of that.
Being
Those are the
told you
real brave people.
being told you didn't have dysphoria, you weren't really trans, you were just lying for you did it for to fit in. And it's like, so are we just victim blaming in a new way because these are children and they were victims of a medical industry.
Real
Yeah.
people with real feelings, and
Yeah.
it's so crazy. It's so obviously cult like. Ugh, God
Yeah.
Almighty. So don't be afraid to speak out, people. Seriously, there's so much support out there. I welcome you gladly.
It is in
Don't be afraid.
droves.
Yeah, I know. I think a lot of people are peaking and waking up more and more every day, to be honest, because I find a lot of at least from what I've seen, conservative news sources really talking about a lot of the stuff that I'm like, whoa, shit, they're talking about that story. This is huge. I'm
And they're
like, hell
using the
yeah.
words women's rights. They're using these are pro women bills, which is I know they don't support me in other ways, but for them to at least be using that language of
Yeah.
saying, you can manipulate the language all you want. We're going to use what this bill is actually being utilized as. No one is trying to hurt children. We're trying to help women and
Yes.
girls.
Yes, this is coming from people that really care. As angry as I am and blah and
We're both in
rah,
our fuck shirts today.
it really does come from a place of caring and understanding. I've never done the trans thing, but I saw the huge parallels with the eating disorder thing, and I'm like, oh my God, my heart broke, and I just was crying.
Yeah.
It was so painful. It still is painful seeing
Yep.
this go on. I really care about these people being convinced and coerced and lied to and brainwashed.
It's
The
it's
truth
because it's
will
not
set you
fair
free.
to them.
Yeah,
We should
it
be
really isn't.
there should be adults out there to protect them.
Yeah.
That's when you have a child, you protect them. Adults are, I don't have kids. I do not want kids, but I still feel compelled as the adult in the room to abdicate for them because I was a child and
Yeah.
I know I could not make those kind of decisions then. And they're being lied to, and I'm scared truly for what like the next decade is going to bring
Could be
with
nasty.
these kids getting out of
Okay.
it, hopefully
Yeah.
for some of them. But as you said, on the terms of just talk, just get out there. There is a community for you. I've had the post public on my wall for a while now, but it is just this every time and it's a tweet of someone saying, every time I speak up, I will receive hate publicly, but I will receive so many private messages from women telling me thank you.
Yeah.
And I leave it public and I get laugh reacts on it sometimes from gender extremists because they think it's a joke, but it has proven true every single time.
Yep.
I
Same here.
always there's so much silent support out there for people willing to speak up and get loud because there will
Yes.
be people to support you. You don't have
Yes.
to be silent.
Nope, you don't. None of what they say and fearmonger you with is true, really. There's so much
Yeah,
support.
it's just fear mongering.
It really is. Not us, them. Everything is saying
Yes.
literally what they do, but whatever. Where can the good old people find you on the interwebs, Miss Nancy?
Oh God, I'm around in a couple places. I'm mad I can't get the Facebook handle I want right now, but you can find me at Nancy the Radical, all one word, on Twitter and also on Tumblr now, because that's a fun place now that they've removed all the porn. And you can find me on Facebook. I didn't link it to you, but it doesn't matter, at incrediblynancy.com or facebook.com/incrediblynancy.
Yes, hey, you can make
And
it
then let
.com.
me just shout out, if you are in the Seattle area or the Washington Pacific Northwesty kind of area and are interested in a women's group, you can reach out to us at sosrights.org, and we have a little vetting system, but we'll get to you.
Yay, awesome. Nancy,
Yeah.
thank you so much for coming on, and thank you so much for what you do, and I really feel for you, like, mega. This is something that when I realized what was going on, I was like, dude, I cannot stop researching.
Yeah.
I feel for these people. This is
This
something
is my
that
life
I was
now.
I was born for this. I'm like, oh God, now I know what it is. All right, let's
Yeah.
fucking go. I'm just ready, dude. So thank
Well,
you so
thank
much
you
for what you do.
Thank you so much for having me on. This has been
problem.
wonderful, and it's just, there's such a confidence boost and such a I feel when I get to speak to other women who are as passionate about this kind of stuff as I do.
There's a lot of us. There is a
Stuff
lot
as
of
I
us,
am.
dude.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, until next time. Bye, people.
Bye.
Don't forget to also hit subscribe and hit that little bell button so you know when my next video goes live. I appreciate it. So does Clippy. Clippy, Clippy, Clippy. He's like, no.